Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Ravi Gupta. I'm editor-in-chief of Elets Technomedia Private Limited, and I am also the editor-in-chief of Digital Learning Magazine. This is a magazine which is around 16 years old, and this is the first and the only magazine of this country, India, and also the first and the only magazine in Asia, which has been for past 16 years focusing on innovation in education. And we have been bringing out this magazine every month uninterrupted for last 16 years. And we have been organizing several conferences in more than 100 cities inside India and more than 10 countries outside India for last 16 years. And today we are doing a live interaction with Shri Ramanan Ramanathan. He is the mission director of Atal Innovation Mission, which is an initiative of the NITI Aayog, Government of India. Welcome, Ramananji. Thanks for joining us. Good morning.
Thank you.
Namaskar. So, as we start, we are all aware that you are a person who joined the government from the industry. You were part of the CMC earlier, and you then were part of the TCS, Tata Consultancy Services, and you then joined the government sector to lead this very unique initiative of the Government of India, which was to create a innovation ecosystem in the school education and other sectors. So as we start, I would like to ask you about how this idea of Atal Innovation Mission was conceptualized and what have been the major achievements of the Atal Innovation Mission since inception. Ramananji.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Ravi, and thank you, Elets Technomedia, for enabling me to join this particular webinar. It's indeed a pleasure and privilege always to be able to interact with and talk to on a subject which is very passionate to me and which I'm sure is of great importance to everybody who is listening. Of course, I hope that everyone is safe and sound at home, and you're also practicing the necessary safeguards as this particular crisis demands. So, Ravi, you mentioned about Atal Innovation Mission, and as you rightly pointed out, I actually have moved from the private sector into the government, having worked for more than 30 years in the Tata Group through Tata Consultancy Services, and then went on to head CMC, which was actually a public sector organization that was acquired by TCS way back in 2000. And what was important was this gave me an exposure both to what the private sector is able to do in the growth of the country, the economic prosperity. And as you know, when I joined TCS, it was about 400 people, and now it is more than 400,000 people. So it's a fairly large organization, and the growth of the ITS industry has been phenomenal, with more than $180 billion worth of revenue coming from the ITS industry, and that too in a span of, I would say, about the last 20-25 years. So it's been a remarkable journey. But what also the government sector experience, the experience of running CMC, showed to me that the power and the talent and the research capability that has been present and that is present in many government organizations. And so when CMC was acquired, we saw how do we take this public sector organization and how do we convert it into a vibrant multinational global organization rather than just being a domestic organization. And all we had to do was leverage what was already there. You know, you didn't have to do anything new, but give it a certain direction, give it certain shape. And that is the power of the Indian, I would say, intellectual capability, the talent that exists, and the innovation possibilities that exist. So when this Atal Innovation, CMC got absorbed into Tata Consultancy Services in 2016. And at that time, the Atal Innovation Mission was being formed. And the Atal Innovation Mission had very simply under the direction and under the leadership and guidance of the Prime Minister, and in the auspices of the NITI Aayog. The NITI Aayog, as you are aware, was established by this government as a national institution for transforming India. And one of the key things that the Prime Minister, and of course all of us, it is very logical to consider, we are a country of 1.3 billion people. And we are one of the fastest growing economies of the world. We have what they call as a demographic dividend, where more than 65% of our people are under 35 years old. We have 1.4 million schools in our country, 10,500 engineering and related institutions, more than 39,000 colleges, and we have 150 million young students entering into the workplace over the next 5 to 10 years. The question is, how do we harness this youthful energy, this demographic dividend, which is the envy of many a country across the world? How do you harness it? How do you channelize it? And how do you take this energy forward for the growth of our country, not just from an economic point of view, but also from a societal point of view? And we have many challenges in our country. We have 22% still below the poverty line. We have more than 44% of our country, which is agri-economy based. We have only 8 tier 1 cities in our country, metro cities. And there is a huge problem of urban migration because we have 733 districts in our country. We have 600,000 villages. And unless we ensure a uniform development of our country across the 733 districts, across the 600,000 villages that are there, and carry all of them forward, it will not be possible to sustain either the economic growth or the societal progress of our country. And therefore, the concept of innovation and entrepreneurship was and is upmost in the minds of the government, and it should be within the private sector. So that is why Atal Innovation Mission was formed, to drive and create an ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship across schools, across universities, across the industry, across NGO organizations which are working for the societal cause, across every district, across every state, and across the nation. Because whatever problems we are able to solve in India, and we're a billion people with a million challenges, but a million challenges are a million opportunities for our country. And the most important part is we don't have to look elsewhere for the market. We have internally a demand of 1.3 billion people. You have a supply of more than 150 million intellectual young students entering into the workplace. So why do we need to look anywhere else for a solution? So the concept of Atal Innovation Mission to create that ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship across the length and breadth of the country was envisaged. And I was very fortunate, and I am very fortunate to be associated with this mission as a mission director. Now, what we are doing in Atal Innovation Mission is, as you know, India has never lacked for great innovators, scientists, engineers. All of them do extraordinarily well abroad when they go. You have a Satya Nadella heading Microsoft, a Sundar Pichai heading Google, a Shantanu Narayan heading Adobe. And even in India, we have had outstanding scientists, whether it is Sri Abdul Kalam, whether it is Ramanujan, the mathematician, whether it is J.C. Bose, all of these, or Sir C.V. Raman, they've all come from the remote towns and remote places of our country. And they have advanced to the highest levels of achievement, scientific achievement as well as other achievements. Even in philosophy, we have had a Vivekananda who has spread Hinduism across the world and in a very powerful manner. So we have a country of great intellectual capability to a civilization which is 5,000 years old. At the school level, we have said, how do we create a problem-solving, innovative mindset? And so we have launched thousands of tinkering labs across the country. We have actually launched we have selected 14,000 schools across the country in over 715 districts, so that we have these tinkering labs which are having the latest technologies like 3D printers, robotics, IoT devices, miniaturized electronics, augmented virtual reality, do-it-yourself kits. Now, why introduce this at a school level? Because our schools have been focusing on rote learning. Our schools have been emphasizing get good marks in physics, chemistry, maths, get into a good university, get good marks again, go to a university abroad, get good marks again and join a company. But that is not going to take us further into the future. What we need is a problem-solving, innovative mindset where thousands of entrepreneurs and thousands of innovators can get created. And we have to start at a school level to create that mindset, that complete paradigm shift from a rote learning to a problem-solving, innovative mindset. Our future, the country's future, is dependent on these young students who are going to be deciding the future of our country and the destiny of our country. The second thing that we do is when they go to the university, we need world-class incubators. So we have what is known as the Atal Incubators. These Atal Incubators will each of them, the government gives a grant of up to 10 crores so that you can set up an incubator in a university, in a research institution, or even in the industry, or even an NGO can apply for an incubator. And the NGO can focus on social innovation, and they will be able to set up an incubator using this grant. The grant is given over a period of 5 years, and every incubator should foster 25 to 30 startups every 2 years. We have already launched 102 incubators across the country. See, previously all the incubators were only in the IITs and the ISCs, and we didn't have a large network. But we are a startup nation. We are now having 30,000 startups. But these startups are not going to succeed if they don't get critical support during the startup life cycle. There are many valleys of death, as they call, in a startup life cycle. And unless you have access to the right technology lab, access to the right research lab, access to mentoring support, access to venture capital, access to business planning and strategy, the startup, a great idea, just dies and does not succeed and does not see expression in the market. So we have launched 102 incubators today, and these 102 incubators are fostering, more than 2,000 startups have already started, and before the end of this year, we'll have 102 incubators which are all operational. The third initiative is you are creating the ecosystem, the problem-solving mindset in school. You are creating incubators and the ecosystem for entrepreneurship in universities and industry, but we also want the innovation to be directed to areas which are very important and vital to our country. And so we launch what are known as Atal New India Challenges. And these New India Challenges, we work along with ministries. We give a grant of 1 crore for anybody who has a great prototype or a beta product for a solution for the challenge. And with this 1 crore can be used to convert it from a prototype to a commercially deployable product. Because many innovators get stuck. They create a prototype, they create an idea, but then they don't get the necessary funding to be able to convert it into a developed product. So we have already launched 24 challenges along with 5 ministries, Ministry of Health, Drinking Water Sanitation, Ministry of Renewable Energies, and so on. And these, we got more than 950 solutions, out of which 52 winners have been selected. We launched many more challenges in the years. Fourth thing we have done is we have launched what are known as Atal Community Innovation Centers. See, most of the innovation is happening in tier 1 cities even today, or maybe a few handful of tier 2 cities. But we want the benefit of innovation to go right up to the village level, at the district level, to the rural districts, to the hilly district, to the tribal districts. So we are setting up more than 150 Atal Community Innovation Centers, and these centers will be set up over the next 4 to 5 years. Already 26 of them have been selected, and they will be deployed within the next 3 months. And they will enable local innovation benefiting that community, not just generic stuff, so that the needs of the community, the job enabling capability in that community, the tinkering labs, access to the schools who don't have a tinkering lab in the community, all of that will get facilitated through this Community Innovation Center. And finally, we are launching something called ARISE, Applied Research and Innovation for Small Enterprises. And these challenges are for the MSME industry. 70% of our informal sector is in the MSME industry. And the Honorable Minister Gadkari ji has said that we want from 29% of our contribution to GDP, which is the current contribution of this, we want to make sure that the contribution goes up to 50%. And if you want to do that, we need to stimulate innovations for Make in India so that we become a self-reliant country. Now, these are all the initiatives. And to support this, we have launched what is known as Mentors of Change, Mentor India Network. Now, this is the largest mentoring network, voluntary mentoring network ever in the history of our country. We have more than 10,000 people who have registered to become Mentors of Change. 5,000 of them are already operational in the Atal Tinkering Labs. And they are giving their capability, their expertise, their time voluntarily every week so that the young students in the Tinkering Labs can be mentored. We also have more than 1,000 mentors associated with our incubators so that they can provide guidance to the startups. So these are all the various initiatives that the Atal Innovation Mission has launched. So you can see from the school level to the industry level to the state level to the district level and to the NGO research institution level, we are trying to cover the whole span of promoting innovation and entrepreneurship so that our country can progress forward and create thousands of job creators who will be able to add great value in our country.
Amazing. I think the whole journey, like from the school to the university to the SMEs to the MSMEs to the startups and to the community and overall involving the mentors. This is an amazing thing, and you have actually helped create a great innovation ecosystem here in this country. Uh, as we have been like reading articles that something will happen in 3 years, and AI will come, robotics will come, which will like, change the whole innovation ecosystem. And something else came in the world, which no one had expected. It is the COVID-19 which has come. So, how do you think that COVID situation will impact the innovation ecosystem in the country?
Yeah, so, this COVID-19 crisis has descended upon us totally unexpectedly, swiftly, giving no time for any respite whatsoever, and it has paralyzed nations completely. And COVID-19 has introduced the whole problem. The problems that it has introduced are multifold in nature. Starting from the lockdown, which none of us expected. I mean, neither you nor I nor anybody in the audience would have expected that a country can go into lockdown mode for months. I mean, for an entire month. We have had emergency situations before during a war, and even during a war, emergencies have been for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, not for such an extended period of time where the entire country freezes and where people are not even able to come out. So there are going to be major impacts because of COVID-19. So but at the same time, this is also throwing open a whole new range of possibilities that we did not imagine. We did not imagine that even though the supply chain systems would be paralyzed, we didn't imagine that even though we are not able to go to work, we'll be able to talk like this in a webinar and share with hundreds of people new ideas and suggestions and have discussions which were not happening before. So there is a positive element to it. We have had the industry, academia, government, and industrial associations all come together, realizing that unless we all work together in this crisis and address this crisis, if a similar crisis hits us next time, we will be doomed. So everyone is acutely aware that we need to do a whole lot of things differently in order to be able to prevent, first of all, cure ourselves from this crisis, and secondly, to prevent ourselves going forward. So for that, Atal Innovation Mission, for example, has launched on a search for COVID-19 related solutions to solve their preventive solutions, their assistive solutions. We need ventilators, we need masks, we need test kits, we need sanitizing agents, we need solutions to spray in a campus area, in a mall, in a train, in a bus. There is a whole range of solutions that are required to address this crisis. And so we launched a search to the startup community because we have 30,000 startups. We also launched a search to the corporates. But what was amazing to me, and actually Atal Innovation Mission is coordinating this search along with the Department of Biotechnology, the DST, Department of Science and Technology, Startup India, Invest India, NITI, as well as NASSCOM and CII. So we are coordinating this. And what we found was, when we said, do you have solutions which can be immediately deployed and scaled within the next 3 to 6 months, we received more than 2,000 solutions, ready to deploy solutions, which are preventive or assistive in nature. And some of them are curative in nature, but which need to be tested and which need regulatory approval. So we have now shortlisted out of this 1,150 solutions, which we have identified what support they need, whether it is manufacturing, financial, supply chain management, testing support, and so on, regulatory support, and we are supporting them. But what has been very heartening is that the startups on which the government of India has been investing for the last several years have risen up splendidly to this occasion. Now, second thing is, it has also thrown up to us many solutions that are relevant to a post-COVID world. So in a post-COVID world, we are now realizing the importance of self-reliance. How important it is to be self-reliant, how important it is not to be at the mercy of imports which are coming from another country, because if that freezes for whatever reason, then we have a problem. Second is, it has made us aware that there are other problems that we have to deal with. For example, in India, the whole migration problem is a big problem. How do we First, deal with whatever is there in the migration, because now as soon as the lockdown opens, how are we going to ensure that people are still safe? How do we ensure sanitization of large spaces, of crowded spaces, of the slums which are there in Mumbai or in other cities? How do we ensure that these housing, social distancing can still be enabled during mass transportation and so on and so forth? So these are all challenges which require innovation, which require entrepreneurship, which require fresh thinking. And we are very fortunate in India that we have access to technology today and access to knowledge, IT knowledge or IT as knowledge, and access to digital transformation knowledge, because India has been one of those who are leading in the digital transformation in the world because of JAM Trinity, the Jandan, the accounts which are there even in the rural areas, the Aadhaar unique ID application possibilities, as well as the mobile revenue. So because of this, we are in a position to think of new technology-driven solutions, leveraging AI, leveraging blockchain, leveraging robotics, leveraging IoT and sensor technologies to ensure that the problems of migration, the problems of uniform development of the country in our districts and all the districts, the problems of education using digital connectivity like how we are doing, all of this can be addressed.
The government has announced a big relief package to handle this COVID-19 crisis.
Yes.
Do you see that Atal Innovation Mission can play in this relief package, or like overall relief of the citizens actually? Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, you see, the future of our country is based on innovation and entrepreneurship. You cannot imagine a country today, our country, progressing much if we are reliant only on the existing companies, the large companies who are providing goods and services. That is not good enough for 1.3 billion people going forward. And the challenges of uniform development. Out of the 733 districts, 115 are aspirational districts. So if you want the country to progress forward, the startup community, the innovation community, the MSME community has to be strongly supported. We are a 44% agri-economy based country, and we cannot wish away this. We cannot say all the agri people have to come to the cities and convert into industries. Why? Because India is a large producer of agri products, dairy products. We are the largest producer of milk anywhere in the world. How do we harness our agri industry to be value adding? And MSMEs can do it. So this package that has been announced by the Prime Minister is extremely important, and it can only be achieved through innovation, through entrepreneurship, through the MSME industry and supporting that. And the 5 pillars that the Prime Minister has identified is key in them. Every one of them has to be driven by the focus on innovation and entrepreneurship. Now take, for example, the first pillar, which is said we need to ensure re-energizing our economy. We want to resurrect our economy, and we want to be on the fast track. That can only happen if we are able to use innovation and entrepreneurship as a mechanism to drive the growth of the economy. We want to make sure that our universities are becoming hubs of innovation, where new possibilities of driving the economy further, whether it is smart cities. We have 100 smart cities identified. How do we ensure that these 100 smart cities also become hubs of job creation? And we can actually add another 100 smart cities to that. But these will require smart drinking water management, pollution management. It will require access to education in all of these places. It will need access to good health care. So in each of this, we need the MSME startup industry to be able to find solutions, and that can create jobs and which can spur our economy forward. The second pillar that he has mentioned is that of infrastructure. Unless our infrastructure in our country develops uniformly, whether it is the 600,000 villages that we are talking about, or the districts, or the cities, or the metros, or the unserved, underserved regions of the country, we need to ensure that infrastructure, the telecom infrastructure, the road infrastructure, the ports infrastructure, the railway infrastructure, the in digital infrastructure, all of this is growing adequately and briskly in order to engage connectivity, and in order to prevent this large urban migration. If you have great connectivity, both digital and physical, then you don't need to be migrating to another place. You can use both of these connectivity to do on a just need basis in a self-reliant mode. And so therefore infrastructure growth again addresses huge innovation, and whether it is construction, how you use IoT technologies for smart infrastructure, how do you connect plants together using IoT and 5G technology. That is a great opportunity for innovation. How do you use artificial intelligence to be able to assess the demand, the dynamic demand across various states, and be able to create just-in-time manufacturing and just-in-time inventory management. How do you ensure that the all the farms in the country are able to be connected together so that you're cutting out the middle layer, which is depriving the farmer of the profits, and he or she is able to access the international market, not just the domestic market. And how do you ensure supply chain management, easy supply chain management, where anything that is produced in the farm, the storage capability is there, portable storage is there, and the value addition that will happen to the economy because of all of these using technologies is possible. And how do you ensure that our infrastructure, whatever infrastructure changes we are making, is ensuring that it is still in a pollution-free world with climate change taken into account. So there are a number of innovation entrepreneurship possibilities for renewable energies, for solar base, for biogas, and so on and so forth, which is going to be required. The third pillar that he talked about is technology-driven innovation, systems-driven innovation. And we have already talked about that, because technology is getting integrated into every aspect of our living. Whether it is man, machine, device, you are incorporating technology, you are having devices, you have sensor technologies which can be integrated into everything. And so you have a wearable watch, which is telling you what is your pulse rate, what is your heart rate, and so on and so forth. You have devices which are integrated in machines, enabling massive machine-to-machine communication, and in just-in-time production, and so on and so forth. And you're also having the ability to integrate robotics into the manufacturing process so that you can do social distancing. But at the same time, this means you're acquiring new skills. You have to ensure that new skills, technology-based skills, are being acquired by our young students in the schools, in the universities, and in the ecosystem. So which means greater emphasis on skill building, greater emphasis on innovation and entrepreneurial training, greater emphasis on problem solving using these Atal tinkering labs and our innovation labs that we are setting up. The fourth pillar that he talked about is the demographic dividend. We have a demographic dividend, and which we talked earlier. So how do we leverage this? But more importantly, the demographic dividend has to have access to the latest skill development and job enabling training programs. So your platform, for example, is a great platform to enable the relevant skill development, the relevant mentoring that is required in order to be able to achieve that. And finally, we are also talking about societal development in a very big manner. So we want to ensure that the benefits of all of this is being received by the society. And therefore, the focus on community innovation, the focus on the community getting, see, in the pursuit of social innovation, economic prosperity is assured. There is no way that you can achieve economic prosperity at the cost of societal good. You cannot have a few people increasing the economy and becoming richer and richer, whereas the rest of the people are being left behind. That is going to create a non-sustainable system. But the moment you focus on uniform growth, you focus on societal good, automatically this productivity levels will increase, automatically the capability of delivering anything from anywhere will increase, and the capability of an entire nation will increase. So the 5 pillars are very important, and each of those pillars needs innovation, needs entrepreneurship, and Atal Innovation Mission is going to be right at the forefront to drive all this along with all the other institutions that are engaged.
Sure. Sir, there are like questions on your screen, some on the chat and some on the Q&A. And one of the questions someone has asked is that how does the private sector engage with you? How do the existing innovators engage with you?
Can you repeat that question? Sorry.
So how does the private sector work with Atal Innovation Mission?
Yeah.
That's
So there are many ways. In fact, I thank you for bringing that point out. All our initiatives, whether it is tinkering labs or incubators or New India challenges, we have extensive partnership with corporates. We have actually more than 50 private sector entities, large and small, who are working with us, and in many ways. For example, in tinkering labs, many corporates are leveraging their capabilities in partnering with us and adopting Atal Tinkering Lab. So there are organizations which have adopted 100 to 200 Atal Tinkering Labs. Now, what does adoption mean? Adoption doesn't mean any financial outflow. Adoption means that you are going to leverage your manpower, your expertise in being able to ensure that the Atal Tinkering Lab students get mentoring and they get the attention. They get training programs through your organization. You can engage them in online webinars and so on. You can throw challenges at them which will help them to develop their critical thinking. So you have partners like Dell Technologies, IBM, Microsoft, Learning Links Foundation, all of these who are partnering with us and who are enabling our children to become problem solvers and innovators. We are having a mentoring network, like I said, of more than 10,000 mentors who have registered voluntarily, but many of them are from these corporate organizations, and the corporate organizations are also giving them the time and the availability for them to be able to do it. Now, corporates can also invest their CSR funds in any of the Atal Innovation Mission initiatives. And that is a great opportunity for corporates to contribute to the growth of innovation and entrepreneurship in our country. They could use their CSR funds for our Atal Tinkering Labs. They could use it for Atal Community Innovation Centers, where they partner with the applicant and they can direct their CSR funds there. They can partner with our incubators and the startups which are being fostered there. They could partner in the challenges and Atal New India challenges that we are talking about, and so on and so forth. The third thing is we are actually working very closely with the corporates to see that the benefits of all of this innovation is being validated by them also. Because the market demands are best understood by corporates and the industry demands are best understood. And it is important that the startups innovate in alignment with what the market needs are or anticipated market needs are. So there are multiple ways. And what we would request is anybody who is interested, please send a mail to me, r.ramanan@gov.in, and I'll be more than happy to see how we can take the relationship forward.
Sure. There is a question that there are more than 1,000 universities and 10,000 technical education institutions in the country. How does the innovation culture reach out to all of them? And the audience is like person is saying is that the progress is too slow considering the size of the country.
Well, I would say in the last couple of years, at least the last 2 years, the progress has been pretty good. It could always be better, but as to those who are not aware, AICTE, which is the All India Council of Technical Education, they have actually launched an innovation entrepreneurship program across all the universities of the country, and then many other universities which are not part of AICTE but which are also part of the university and college system have also started partnering in entrepreneurial development. So almost every college and every university today has integrated innovation entrepreneurship programs in their curriculum. That is one part. Second is AICTE, as I know also, and I have been part of this committees, has launched 1,000 innovation cells. They have selected 1,000 of those universities among the 10,000 that are there, making them as the initial hubs of innovation and in entrepreneurship awareness building, and coming up with ideas of how they can participate in community projects. So the students, even as they are going to their 4th year or the 5th year of the university, are able to participate in community related innovations as a part of their project work and so on. And of course, webinars like yours are very important, and there are a series of webinars which are focusing on innovation, entrepreneurship, and spreading the awareness. From my point of view, every university in the country should have a world-class incubator. Because if you don't have an incubator, then you are depriving the students from your university, the talented, innovative, passionate students from your university, the opportunity to become a startup or the opportunity to become an entrepreneur. So I think every university should not wait for the government to do something. I mean, as a part of their own internal policy and as a part of their internal strategy of how do we make our students better equipped for the future, they should have an incubation setup within their university, which will enable students to participate in challenges, in hackathons, in product innovations, so that when they go into the industry, they become innovative by nature. Even if they're working for a large company like TCS or Wipro or whatever, they will become innovative in their approach rather than saying, tell me what to do and I will do it. Gone are the days where you should be saying, tell me what to do and I'll do it. Rather, you should be the one suggesting what new things can be done. That is the way companies will develop. That is the way the country will develop.
So there is an interesting question that what are the challenges you are facing when it comes to rural areas? We believe we have set of talented students in the rural areas as well, but their participation seems very less in comparison to the students in the urban areas. So,
yeah. So it's a very important point that has been raised. We need to ensure that not only the benefits of innovation reach the rural markets, but we actually foster innovation that is happening in all the rural areas of the country. And that is why the Atal Community Innovation Centers are being set up across the country. And I'm sure this will start multiplying by the additional voluntary involvement of industries in and around that particular place. You see, many of the industries also, by the way, which are in rural areas, try to get their manpower from the cities to work for them. Instead of that, they should be seeing how they can involve in skill development, educational opportunities to be able to create local employment and enable local job creation. So the community innovation centers is one of the ways in which, as Atal Innovation Mission, we are seeing how we can foster innovative thinking in the community. Because take, for example, if you're in a fishing district, okay, in the coastal district, how do we boost the fishing industry? By leveraging technology, by leveraging innovation. How do you improve the supply chain to the interior parts of the country using technology and using intelligent systems? If you're in a tribal district, how do you ensure water management? How do you ensure electricity management, which are major problems in a hilly district? And how do you ensure that horticulture or producing farm fruits, value addition of, take Jammu and Kashmir, such a beautiful place, apple orchards and so many other fruits are available, nuts are available, saffron is available. How do you ensure that you can convert all that into great value added products, which can be exported to other states as well as to the rest of the world, using e-commerce, using digital technology, and using supply chain management system? So these are all opportunities which are there. We also want to convert what is known as Jugaad innovation, which is happening in various communities and rural districts, into systemic innovations which can be replicated across the country. So yes, so what are some of the other things we are doing? Many of our incubators have been selected in such areas, in tier 2 cities and tier 3 cities. So while we have some incubators in our tier 1 cities, there are many of our 100 incubators which are in Lucknow, in Tripura, in Tirupur, in the textile industry, near Coimbatore. We are having in Assam, in Jorhat. So we are Sikkim. We are spreading the tentacles of innovation and entrepreneurship, capability and ecosystem in all these places, so that students can start innovating for the needs of that community.
Sure. Very interesting. And there is another question that schools are closed, colleges are closed, and you have the big innovation efforts happening in schools and colleges. So how do you engage those ecosystem in these types of lockdown?
Yeah, thank you very much for asking that question. And that is something that I forgot to mention. Actually, the entire educational system is up for a revolution now, because you are going to have massive digitization and digital transformations being used in the schools and in the universities. This particular, even as we speak, there are many universities and many schools who are already engaged in online education, online training, and online stimulation of creative ideas from the students. Just today morning, I have inaugurated online a hackathon for all the defense schools, which is being organized by the Air Force Hebal School in Bangalore. And that's the wonderful thing. I mean, many schools are doing this. Just a few days ago, I addressed 130 schools where all the school teachers, principals, and students had come to see how you can use online medium for training and innovation. At Atal Innovation Mission itself, in the last 1 month, we have launched 5 modules related to innovation and entrepreneurship. We have called this Tinker from Home module. And the Tinker from Home modules, the 5 of them, one is on artificial intelligence. This is learn it yourself artificial intelligence and do it yourself artificial intelligence. So you can go through this online interactive artificial intelligence training modules. You can learn step by step advanced concepts. You can start doing some programming there, and you can also assess yourself, self-assessment as to whether I have understood the topic properly and so on. Then we have introduced something on game development. Now, game development module is in order for the children to create their own games. I mean, everybody loves playing games, but why don't you create your own big games? So why didn't you transition from a game player to a game maker? And along with Dell Technologies and Learning Link Foundation, Atal Innovation Mission has launched game development modules. We have launched 2 modules now in that. One was a beginner's module using Scratch and Scratch technology. Second is using Construct now. It's a more advanced, so that you can create 2D games, video games, computer games, and so on. And this has really caught on widely with the students. All the students are actively engaged in learning about this and developing their own games. And we have even launched a competition for their own game development. The third is we have launched something called 3D design, along with a software called CollabCAD. And all of this is online on the cloud. So you can use CollabCAD to learn about 3D printing design. How do you use a 3D printer? How do you design for a 3D printer? And the various components that go into the design of any artifact or any product. And it is amazing. Many students, young, innovative students, have created 3D printed masks, face masks, 3D printed personal protection equipment. It is really amazing. Some people have designed a doorbell where you don't have to press the doorbell. Rather, as soon as you go near it, it will automatically sense you, and it will automatically buzz, so that you are enabling contactless surfaces and so on. So, and the fourth thing that we have introduced is creativity, digital creativity and digital skills. This we have introduced for the teachers as well as for the mentors. Because how do you use communication technology using Adobe Spark and tools of Adobe to be able to do it? Or there are many other tools by many other software providers. So how do you hone your digital skills, communication skills, and creativity skills? So this has also been launched. And we are launched a number of YouTube sessions, make yourself sessions. So if you follow these sessions, the students can learn through the YouTube sessions, live sessions, how to create their own innovations, and then they can advance on that. So digital transformation of education, whether it is training, whether it is certification, whether it is self-assessment, whether it is mentoring, or whether it is make it yourself kits, this is going to become a new norm in the way students are going to learn. But at the same time, we have a challenge going ahead, because not all schools have that sort of capability or not all the students have access to internet. So we are working on how to ensure that using mobile technology and just the smartphone, all of these things will be also made available to you. So even if you're in a remote district, many of them, almost everybody has a mobile phone and a smartphone, and using that, you can do a whole lot of this learning.
Amazing. And I think we have almost reached the end of the webinar, and there's an interesting question here, that startups develop innovative, sustainable green technologies, but they struggle to get trial and approval from the government departments and engineers and the officers, and they get frustrated. So how does the Atal Innovation Mission help these startups in any way?
So a couple of things. One is, I think the importance being given to climate change is dramatically going to change post-COVID, because that's another disaster in the making. You know, if you don't address climate change problems, if you don't address the go green environment issues, then we are going to have new challenges coming. So not only is the government acutely aware, but the research institutions, the universities are also aware that this should be a focus area for both research as well as innovation. Secondly, we are having a number of social incubators in our MISS in Atal Innovation Mission, and I'll be happy to receive any such ideas and connect the startups to the incubators who are focusing on social innovation. For example, we have the Nudge Foundation, we have Tata Trust who are running an incubator, we have Selco Foundation, we have AIC, ALC, we have ALEAP. I mean, we have a number of incubators who are focusing on climate change related solutions. And so I'll be happy to put them because many of these problems would be common to them and that can be addressed. And third, always feel free to write an email where you need some regulatory support or regulatory focus, and I'll be very happy to help them out.
Sir, requesting you to write your email ID here, like if you can do it on the chat.
R.Ramanan,
R-A-M-A-N. Okay. Just a second.
Yeah. R.Ramanan at gov.in.
Okay, fine. So I have written your email ID. And another interesting question is that maybe a similar one is that many startups are developing good solutions.
Hello, I couldn't get it. Yeah.
Many startups are developing solutions which can help the government, the various departments, and especially the district and the state governments. But the receptivity is not high. Startups have a huge problem in approaching them. So can Atal Innovation Mission develop a mechanism to help the startups reach the local government of officials, the district officials who are actually on the ground, and they may absorb these technologies of the startups?
Yeah, definitely. That's our purpose. That is why we exist. So we'd be more than happy to help connect an innovation. But I think there is also sometimes, you have to be able to sell your value proposition also well. So it is not just a matter of somebody not being receptive. I have often received a request, where somebody says, hey, I want 15 crores for this innovation. Can you please support me? But you have to send me some detail. It's not easy to support anybody, even coughing up even 1 crore for something. If you don't know the details, you don't have a proof of concept, you don't have a prototype and all of that. So there is a lot which goes into making sure that you have a viable solution that can be with a prototype. And there is a certain amount of investment that you have to do in your innovation, either through yourself or through your partner, or getting some more additional stakeholders, because that strengthens your case for consideration. At the same time, there are challenges because many of our government institutions operate under a fixed process, a process which has been set up, an RFP process, and so on and so forth. So sometimes you may feel that as a startup, I cannot compete in that sort of environment. So the Startup India and Invest India have actually facilitated, if you register yourself as a startup with Startup India and Invest India, then you get relaxation on a number of criteria which goes into the selection of your innovation for a particular opportunity. And beyond that, please write to us, please write to me if there is any issue that we can help on, and we'll, within whatever is our capability of pushing your innovation, if it is a good innovation, what we can definitely help is, one, the validation of your innovation and its potential through our existing network of incubators, community innovation centers, and so on. So that itself is a big plus point, for you to be able to validate your solution. And then once it is validated, not only they are connected into the network with the government and with the local government and so on, but we can also facilitate it because you provide a stronger case for this justification.
Perfect. So with this, I think we can really end this interaction. And before we do that, Ramananji, you have been a part of several Elets conferences. You have written in our magazine. and we are like right now interacting on a webinar. So your inputs and suggestions about the work which Elets is doing to spread innovations. So.
Yeah. Sorry, can you repeat the last part?
Your inputs and suggestions on the work which Elets is doing.
No, I think first of all, you're doing great work. I want to congratulate and compliment you on this. And I think all that you have to do is see how you can further expand. I think you should launch challenges along with maybe some partners. It could be with Atal Innovation Mission, or it could be with others, because you have a number of corporates who are already part of your entity. So the ability for us to launch some challenges and give grants and so on, leveraging CSR funds is one big opportunity, so that people will know what they have to do. Sometimes innovations have to be directed towards solving certain problems, and when you have clarity of what you need to solve, then the innovation automatically becomes sharper and better. And third is, I think you should become a leader in leveraging digital medium for educational learning, for skill development. You've already been doing that, but I think now use augmented virtual reality, use the new technologies and digital technologies that are available, so that you can become one of the leaders of spreading education in a And I would also say you should adopt a few aspirational districts and see how these aspirational districts can benefit from all of this. Because the big challenge for us is not the metro cities, it is all the other tier 2, tier 3 and the rural districts. So being able to spread this to those areas, and maybe having seminars in multiple languages, which you may be doing, but accentuating that would be of great help.
I think it's an interesting idea of the using local languages and doing that. And we have like started it, but it's like very small. We should scale it up.
Yes.
Yes. And thanks. I think very amazing discussions we had, and I think I have learned a lot about the various initiatives. Although I was knowing a lot, but I have learned a lot more today. And I think
today you were listening to me. One of the things of being a moderator is you have to accurately listen to what is being.
Yes. And I think it has been of help to all the audience. And if you have any questions, the email ID of Ramananji I have like written here on the chat, and many people are still asking. So you can email us and I can maybe give it to you. It's r.ramanan@gov.in. I have written it on the chat, you can copy it from there. And I request all the audience that if you have found this discussion interesting and valuable, and it may help others or benefit others, please like and share this on Facebook and YouTube, so that a lot more people get benefited. So with this, we will end this discussion. Thank you so much, Ramananji. We are really honored to have you. Namaskar. Thank you.